Hey guys, Dave here. Just having some coffee here. Don't be alarmed at the size of this cup. This is a wide angle camera I'm using, so when I hold this up here, it looks like, oh my God, that's like the size of a trash can. It's actually a 20-ounce cup. So it's not, it's like a large size at Starbucks. Um, anyway, I am getting ready to head out for a trip. And so I'm making this quick thing just to kind of say thanks for a good month and let you know that I'll be sort of incognito for a few days. I'm headed up to Oregon, Grants Pass, Oregon, to see my mother and the rest of my family up there. And I'm really not looking forward to the trip all that much. I'm just not. Sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I just got to drive. And other times I feel like I really don't want to drive, but I don't want to stay home really either. I've been here forever. And, it's been 4 months of lockdown, well over 4 months now, 4.5 months of lockdown in LA. There's no place to go. You can't go to a restaurant. You can just take out food is all. I can't go anywhere to play music. I haven't gone out and played music with friends in 4.5 months. And I just don't think there's ever been a period of time in the last 30 years probably that I've gone that long without joining together with some other human beings to make music. And it's like something is missing from me. It's like somebody stole drugged me and stole a kidney or something like that in China. And it's like somebody has committed some sort of surgery on me where some part of me has been extracted. And I don't know how to replace that. I don't know how to replace the activity of playing live music. Some of you, I'm sure, have hobbies that you just kind of depend on. Things like going fishing with your son, or going to a ball game with your dad. One of these things that is something that you do continually, and you don't realize how much that's become a part of you until you aren't able to do it anymore, till a sickness comes along or the government locks the whole entire country up. Some little thing like that pops up. And I don't know how to remedy that situation. I don't know really anybody in Oregon other than my family. It's not like I have a bunch of pals up there who are out playing music. Oregon is slightly more opened up than other places. But I should probably set a timer. Let me just pause this so I can set a timer so I don't ramble on too long. Okay, I got my timer set. I understand very very clearly that a lot of you, if you see a timestamp on the thing that's longer than 15 minutes or something like that, you just aren't going to click on this. But that's all right. I make these sort of things for those of you, I guess, who feel a connection to Jason and myself, or to me, whatever. And we don't expect this sort of video to really make very many views. We did have a big video in the last month, as you probably know. It was the thing I did for Black Privilege. And it now has something like 850,000 views. I haven't looked at it in the last couple of days, but it's still inching along. And it was one of these videos that I wanted to make a really important thing about this. I wanted to really deeply explain this. And I wrote a piece that was like 3,600 words long, and it would have been got something like a half an hour to put that thing together. And I didn't think anybody would watch it because it would be kind of long and it would be kind of ponderous and a lot of sort of thinking and explanations and theorizing and things like that. And so I just cut it down to that sort of simple form with those 10 examples. And, some of it was almost a little bit tongue in cheek, but it did hit home. And I thank those of you who shared it, even though I'm not exactly sure I want to be catching the flack for it for the next year, which I will be, of course. The liberals have found it. If you're going to get a video that's that big, it's way beyond the size of our subscriber base. So it's out there in open waters. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at that and go, black privilege. How dare this person? And they'll click on it. And they won't even really listen to it. They'll just start unloading on me. So, but that's all part of the thing. And, I don't take everything seriously. So thank you for those of you who shared that. I really do appreciate that, and it helps us to make the ends meet, particularly when we're not feeling terribly inspired. And I know we haven't been putting out much volume of stuff lately because it's like the world is stuck on repeat. It's the same thing. It's every weekend there's brand new protests, and now I guess we're adding the wrinkle that now people are getting shot at the protests. Oh boy, like that guy that got shot in Austin. He goes down there, a red-haired kid. He goes down there. I've got a tape of that I got off of Periscope, where he's saying that somebody asks him why he's packing an AR-15 or whatever it is, AK-47, I guess it was, at a protest, and he says, "Well, I'm just they won't let us block the streets, so I'm doing this because I'm trying to exercise whatever rights I have left." And then the guy goes, "Well, what do you plan to do with the gun?" He goes, "Well, I can't shoot the cops because then I would be dead." That's what he says. And then he says, and anybody who doesn't like our protest, they're too big of pussies to stop. So, well, apparently somebody did stop, or they stopped someone, and he walked up, and that guy happened to be a Texan as well, who was also packing heat. So I think that guy will probably get off because it was self-defense. But I mean, you hate for some kid who's going through the years where he's discovering his manhood, but he's all tied up with a bunch of stuff he got from college. This is Austin after all. And just, it like progressivism is in the air there. And so it's just like Portland Jr. I wrote a song a long time ago where I compared the two. It's Portland and Austin are the same sort of thing, and they're both modeled on Melrose Avenue in LA in like 1990. They're all modeled on that, all the same kind of shops, all the same kind of political opinions and things like that. Anyway, we'll go into that some other time. But this poor kid, he gets all balled up with this thing, and he's probably got a girlfriend who's a lefty and friends who are lefties, but he's kind of got some gun guy in him too from being a Texan. He gets this stuff all balled up in his head and goes down to the rally, and he is no more. And I'm sure that his parents are grieving for him. If he was my son, I would be grieving for him. And so I am sorry for the loss of life in any of this kind of stuff. That's really a battle of bad ideas versus good ideas, versus a lot of people who've been tied up too long in their homes, and a lot of sort of super escalation of all of this stuff through social media. So it's a tragedy, and I hope there's no more of this kind of thing. So my trip is coming up, and I am, as some of you know, I'm looking for a 26.5-foot Lazy Days Class C motorhome, and I'm looking for the model that has the sort of rear living room area with all the surrounding windows, and has but they call it the mid-bath floor plan. So if anybody sees one of those things and it's within a few hundred miles of Southern California, let me know. You can find my email address on. It's always there in the read more part. So I'm looking for that, and I'm hoping to get that by the end of summer and start doing some serious traveling. You saw the podcast that I did the other day, and these aren't really, I know some people tell me it's not really a podcast because there is no RSS feed. I know that. I'm just not up to speed on that. I'm trying to learn the skill of this sort of conversation that a lot of people are doing on their channels. Of course, I listen to Joe Rogan regularly. I'm a little pissed off at him right now from the last thing I heard him do, and I'm also a little pissed off at him that he's going off to Texas, but he's going to go to Austin. I mean, Jesus, if you're going to go to Texas, don't move to the LA of Texas, but that's where he's going. And I appreciate the fact that he has people on like Ben Shapiro, and then lets them talk and lets them express their ideas to a very, very large audience. So I take the bitter with the sweet about that. There is another podcast I'd like you guys to listen to, and it's the Dark Horse podcast with Brett Weinstein. Brett Weinstein considers himself a progressive. His wife is Heather. I can't recall her last name, but they're both evolutionary biologists, and they were teaching at Evergreen University, and there was that big kerfuffle there a couple of years ago, and they were both forced to leave the university, and that kind of red-pilled him. That kind of knocked him out of the progressive thing, and he started realizing what was going on in the colleges, and now a lot of people give him credit for having discovered wokeness, which is really not true. We were all fighting wokeness for long before that, but it took him that long to get red pilled. But he is a very formidable intellect who now understands that the left is a very dangerous thing. And he had a podcast the other day with a guy named Zuby, who is apparently a rapper. He's based out of England. He talks like an American. He's based out of England. And this is one of the smartest guys you're going to run across. And also very down on the sort of this sort of what's happening with the Black Lives Matter, firing up the racial division in this country. And he sees it from outside, and having traveled a lot in the USA and over periods of time, he sees what's happening here, and he knows where to lay the blame for this division. And I don't want to put words in his mouth. It's a really good podcast. That's the Dark Horse podcast with Brett Weinstein, and Zuby, Zuby. Look for it. Enjoy it. It's a really good podcast. Very, very worth your hour of listening. Speaking of which, I had Ryan Long on here the other day. He had that viral video that I thought was brilliant about showing, how a racist and a woke person were the same when it comes to the way they deal with race. Their central focus on race, the way they want people to be thought of primarily according to their race, either good or bad, bad being white, good being black, or some other color that is handy. I really enjoyed talking with Ryan. One of the main reasons I'm doing these sit down talk things, sometimes with Jason, sometimes with Annie. I know you guys enjoy those, but these lose money. These don't make us any money. It's a lot of time, because when you're doing a Zoom interview, almost never, I haven't figured out a way to get the level of my sound to be the same as the level of their sound. So I've got to go through the whole thing and adjust the sound, either pull myself down, pull myself up, pull them up, down. So they take a long time to edit, even though there's really no edits per se in terms of editing for content. But I really enjoyed sitting down with Ryan, and he's a young guy from Canada, and like me, kind of a default, Democrat type guy, left winger, liberal, whatever you want to call it. And he's really calling people out in a comedic way. I think he's really clever. He's really smart. The things he puts in his comedic skits are accurate, and they're not mean, but they are. He's got the necessary no bullshit attitude. So I really enjoyed that. Thanks to the relatively small number of you people who watched that. And I hope I'm getting a little bit better at it, sitting there having a conversation. If you notice that I'm looking away from him in the video cast, when you see us side by side, what I'm really doing is I'm looking over at him that I'm seeing. I'm seeing a little picture of me and a little picture of him side by side. And so I cast my eyes over looking at him, because I'm actually looking at him and listening to him. I'm not looking away. I'm actually looking at him, but the way the camera lines up, for some reason, it gets it backwards. It has me looking as if I'm looking away from him. So don't think I'm ignoring him or daydreaming or something. I'm actually looking at him as best I can. I guess I have to teach myself to look into the camera instead of looking at the picture of Ryan, because his face is not a camera. So these are all things I'm trying to learn to get better at this. But part of why I want to travel, the thing that I'd like to do is go around the country and go to interesting people that I've become aware of, doing their interesting lives on their own turf, and do a podcast from the road. So this is one of the things I want to be able to do. And a lot of this will take place on a new channel. And it's not really a new channel. It has, I think, 500 subscribers. It's just Dave Morris, and I have a small number of music videos up there from one given performance. We just, we recorded it and chopped a few of them up. Jason did that for me. And so that's all that's on it. There's a lot of stuff that's on that channel that is set for private, so no one else can see it, and it's just me rambling about philosophical things before I started really doing the sort of written down and presented video essays that I do now. But I'm going to start doing more things there, and so my plan is to do a video a month, a video a week for a month on Blue Collar Logic. So my productivity will drop down on Blue Collar Logic, similar to as it's been for this last month, because what I've been doing is I've been writing a lot of material for the new channel, and I'm starting out with a multi-part series that's going to deal really, really, really honestly with my own alcoholism and addiction. And I have 10 years sober now. Just this past June, I haven't had a drink in that long, and so I am qualified, I think, to talk about this after years and years of going through it, trying all different ways to get around it or to live with it. And so I'm writing in a sort of a timeline. I've got 5 parts written so far, and it will probably be 10 or 15 parts that are all in like 5, 6, 7-minute videos. So there'll be bite-sized chunks. And that's going to go up on my new channel when I really open up that channel. I'll probably open it up with this series, and it won't be on Blue Collar Logic. So those of you who will want to check out that story, and I'm not doing it to, in some way to brag about beating addiction or anything like that. I'm doing it so that if there are commonalities between my story and others, and given that we're all humans, there's always commonalities. I don't know how deep the commonalities will be, but if there are a few hundred people out there who will listen to this stuff and go, oh my God, this guy's a lot like me. He thinks like me, and he's had the same situations as me, and he got through it. Let me follow through the timeline and see if I'm ready to start taking the next step, whatever the next step is in the progression for them. So I'm going to be doing that, and I hope a lot of you guys will follow me over to the other station, to the other channel, and subscribe over there. And no need to unsubscribe from Blue Collar Logic, because the political stuff will still be there, and this stuff will be more philosophical, travel, podcasts. Time is up. I've already rambled way too long, but there were other things I wanted to talk about, but I'm not going to get to. I wanted to tell you a quick story. I was down and Ryan in our podcast the other day, he referred to people, his friends up in Canada, having like woke people walk to his black friends, woke people walk up to them and go, "Black Lives Matter, man." So it is so funny, because I went down to the local gas station that has a mini mart. It's where I go to get my big gulp filled in the afternoons. And Lupe is my very good friend who works there. She's sort of the manager there. And she and I have known each other for 5 years, and we're really good friends. We talk. And she was there, and there was this, so she was there working, and I was around the back behind her, kind of a sort of an island where she works, and I was sort of around getting my big gulp filled, and there was a woman getting coffee, an African-American woman getting coffee, and I had to kind of squeeze by her. It's a little bit tight there, and I said, "Excuse me," and I went past her, and then I came up, it was in line, and she was fixing her coffee, right? And she'd been there, so she'd been in the store before me, and she came up to stand behind me in line, and I said, no, you go in front of me. You were here first. And so she goes, "Oh, well, thank you." So she gets in front of me. We were talking nicely, and apparently she knew Lupe pretty well too, So and Lupe called her by name, and she said, "Do you know Charles and the guy who works here at night, African American guy who works here at night, who works behind the counter at night?" And she said, "Yeah, I know him." And she goes, "Charles was working in here the other day, and this guy comes in, a white guy like Dave." She points at me, She goes, "You're just a regular old white guy like Dave." And he goes to Charles, "Black Lives Matter, Charles. I want you to know that Black Lives Matter. You know, and the two of these women, and Lupe is, of course, so here's a Hispanic woman who was born way down deep in Mexico and emigrated, and a Black American who lives in the same town as I do in our little integrated town, and myself. We all had a laugh, and we all just agreed, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. I mean, for people to be calling attention, and I mean, what could be more make a Black person more uncomfortable than for them to know that you're not seeing them as just their neighbor. You're now seeing them as an example of a Black person. You know what I mean? I mean, it's funny, but it's so sad that this is what's happening to us. So anyway, I talked to you about the Dark Horse podcast. I mentioned the podcast with Ryan. There is a good video now about hydroxychloroquine that you should be looking at, and if I can find it, I'll link it when I release this thing. So anyway, I just want to let you know you won't see me for a while because I'm gonna take the coast route, stay by the beach, stay in the cool air before I have to go inland to Grants Pass, Oregon, which is very, very hot in the summer. And I know it's going to be hot there. And I'm going to be staying in a little single wide that doesn't have climate control when I'm there. So I'm going to go up there and hopefully I'll do some writing on the way up. And I'm going to mainly be focusing on the 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th installments of this big addiction story that I will be beginning to record by the time I get home. So anyway, hope everything's good with you guys. Thanks so much for taking care of the channel and making sure that our videos get out there and make sure that you watch the videos. And we've had a really good month in spite of the fact that we didn't really produce that much. I think some of you liked that thing I did about explaining why I'm a conservative and sort of using that extended metaphor of the old growth forest. I hope that might get a little bit more shares. I think that maybe some of you in the future will think of that video as a way to explain things and go ahead and send it to your liberal son or whatever. And I should send it to my liberal son. So anyway, I'm going to just end it here, wrap it up, and I'll check in from the road somewhere. So wish me safe travels, and I wish you a great week. All right, take care of yourself.
Tell us a little bit about your gun again.
It's AK-47.
What you got it out tonight?
They don't let us march in the streets anymore, so got to practice some of our rights.
Cool, man. Do you feel like you'll need to use it?
Nah, I think if I use it against the cops, I'm dead. And I think all the people that hate us and, want to say shit to us are too big of pussies to stop and actually do anything about it. So,
why'd you start carrying?
Well, our roommate got arrested and they stopped letting us march anywhere, so started carrying.
Thanks.